A condemned killer put to death today using a new combination of drugs appeared to gasp several times during his prolonged execution.
Hit him.
Ohio is one step closer to resuming executions. This after a federal court voted in the state's favor in a case over its lethal injection process.
Since resuming executions in 1999, Ohio has put 56 men to death for crimes so heinous that society deemed them unfit to live. Each meal, each final utterance tells a story of lives that ended by the state's hand. Wilfried Barry, 1999. Known as the Volunteer, Wilfried Barry earned his nickname by dropping his appeals and volunteering for execution after being convicted of killing his boss, Charles Mitroff, during a 1989 robbery. Barry shot Mitroff 5 times, taking just $475 from the Cleveland bakery where he worked. Final meal, cheeseburger, French fries, and cola. Last words, I hope my family can get some peace from this. Barry's execution on February 19, 1999, marked the resumption of capital punishment in Ohio after a 36-year hiatus, making him the first person executed in the state since 1963. J.D. Scott, 2001. Scott was convicted of the 1983 murder of Cleveland delicatessen owner Vinnie Prince during a robbery. The 63-year-old victim was shot in the chest at point-blank range after complying with Scott's demands for money. Final meal, a well-done porterhouse steak, a baked potato with butter and sour cream, green beans, dinner rolls, Cool Ranch Doritos, and Mountain Dew. Last words, peace, and to my family, I love y'all. Scott's execution was controversial due to his diagnosed schizophrenia. He died by lethal injection on June 14, 2001. John W. Byrd Jr., 2002. Byrd earned his place on death row for the brutal murder of convenience store clerk Monty Tewksbury during a 1983 robbery. After stabbing Tewksbury in the heart, Byrd and his accomplices watched the victim slowly bleed to death while begging for help. Final meal, double cheeseburger, fries, onion rings, fried chicken, salad with ranch dressing, steak, baked potato, and a milkshake. Last words. You can break my body, but you cannot touch my soul. I'm innocent. Byrd chose electrocution as his method of execution as a protest against what he considered an unjust sentence. He was the last person to be executed by electric chair in Ohio. Alton Coleman, 2002.
You've just been sentenced to death twice. Don't you have anything to say?
Few killers have terrorized the Midwest like Alton Coleman, whose bloody rampage with accomplice Deborah Brown left at least 8 people dead across 6 states in the summer of 1984. His victims ranged from children to the elderly, with crimes involving sexual assault, torture, and murder. Final meal, filet mignon with sautéed mushrooms, fried chicken, salad with French dressing, sweet potato pie with whipped cream, French fries, collard greens, onion rings, cornbread, broccoli with melted cheese, biscuits and gravy, and cherry cola. Last words, the Lord is my shepherd, followed by a prayer. Coleman was pronounced dead at 10:13 a.m. on April 26, 2002, becoming the 7th person executed in Ohio since the state resumed capital punishment. Robert A. Buell, 2002. Buell was convicted of the 1982 kidnapping, rape, and murder of 11-year-old Kristen Harrison. The young girl was abducted while walking home from a friend's house, then sexually assaulted and strangled. Final meal, a single black olive with the pit still in it, a symbolic gesture representing leaving the pit for them to plant in Ohio soil to remind people of the state's shameful position. Last words, Jerry, I've always loved you. Debbie, Take care of my sister. That's it. Buell maintained his innocence until his execution on September 25, 2002. Richard E. Fox, 2003. Fox was sentenced to death for the 1989 kidnapping and murder of 18-year-old Leslie Keckler in Bowling Green. After luring Keckler to a fake job interview, Fox drove her to a secluded area where he attempted to rape her, then strangled and repeatedly stabbed her. Final meal. Declined a special meal, choosing only a soft drink from the prison commissary. Last words. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused the Keckler family and my family and friends. I ask God for forgiveness, and I'm fortunate to have the love and support that I've had all these years. Fox was executed on February 12, 2003. David M. Brewer, 2003. Brewer was convicted of the 1985 kidnapping, robbery, and murder of 21-year-old Sherry Byrne, the wife of his friend. After luring her to meet him, Brewer beat, stabbed, and strangled Byrne before dumping her body in a rural area. Final meal: steak, baked potato, salad, corn on the cob, Brussels sprouts, apple pie with ice cream, and Pepsi. Last words. I'd like to say I'm sorry to the victim's family. I hope they find some peace. Brewer was executed on April 29, 2003. Ernest Martin, 2003. Martin was sentenced to death for the 1983 murder of Cleveland drugstore owner Robert Robinson during a robbery. Martin shot Robinson in the face at point-blank range after the storekeeper refused to give him drugs. Final meal: a medium-rare porterhouse steak, baked potato with sour cream and real bacon bits, chef salad with honey mustard dressing, fried mushrooms, chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, Coca-Cola, and a piece of cheesecake. Last words. I want you all to know I love you. Thanks for everything. Stay strong. Martin died by lethal injection on June 18, 2003. Lewis Williams Jr., 2004. Williams was convicted of the 1983 murder of 76-year-old Leoma Chmielewski during a home robbery in Cleveland. Williams shot the elderly woman in the face at close range after demanding money. Final meal: a porterhouse steak, baked potato with butter and sour cream, salad with French dressing, corn on the cob, dinner rolls, broccoli with cheese, Coca-Cola, and strawberry cheesecake. Last words. To my family, I love you. Thanks for your support over the years. Keep the faith. I'm going to the promised land. Williams was executed on January 14, 2004. John Glenn Rowe, 2004. Rowe was sentenced to death for the 1984 rape and murder of 21-year-old Donnette Crawford in Zanesville. After offering Crawford a ride, Rowe took her to a remote area where he sexually assaulted and strangled her. Final meal: 2 pork chops, hash browns with onions, butter beans, cornbread, chocolate cake, and Kool-Aid. Last words. I would like to say to the victim's family that I'm sorry for what I done. I ask that my family forgive me for the pain I've caused them. Rowe was executed on February 3, 2004. William D. Smith, 2004. Smith was convicted of the 1987 murders of Mary and Louis Bradford in their Cincinnati home during a robbery. Smith, who did odd jobs for the elderly couple, stabbed both multiple times and slit their throats. Final meal: medium-rare porterhouse steak, A1 steak sauce, large order of onion rings, fried jumbo shrimp with cocktail sauce, unleavened bread, and fruit punch. Last words. I would like to apologize to the Bradford family for the hurt and pain I have caused. Smith died by lethal injection on March 8, 2004. William Wickline, 2004. Wickline was sentenced to death for the 1982 murders of Peggy Lurch and Christopher Lurch in Columbus. Wickline bound and gagged the couple before slitting their throats, then dismembered their bodies and disposed of the remains in dumpsters around the city. Final meal. Declined a special meal, choosing instead a regular prison meal of macaroni and cheese, beets, and cornbread. Last words. I have truly asked God for forgiveness for my sins. I pray that the Lurch family will find some peace and know that I truly am sorry. Wickline was executed on March 30th, 2004. Scott Mink, 2004. Mink murdered his elderly parents, William and Sheila Mink, in their home near Dayton in 2000. After a 4-day crack cocaine binge, Mink beat his parents to death with a hammer, poker, and paring knife because they refused to give him money for more drugs. Final meal. Double cheeseburgers, fries, onion rings, ice cream, and coffee. Last words. I'd like to say I'm sorry for the pain I've caused my family and the families of my parents. I ask the Lord for forgiveness. Mink waived all his appeals and was executed on July 20th, 2004, just 14 months after his conviction, one of the fastest executions in modern U.S. history. Adramy Dennis, 2004. Dennis was convicted of the 1994 murder of Kurt Kyle during a robbery in Akron. Dennis shot Kyle in the head with a sawed-off shotgun after demanding money from him and a friend outside Kyle's home. Final meal. Steak, chicken, French fries, onion rings, apple pie with ice cream, and Pepsi. Last words. Mom, Dad, Bev, Eric, Renee, and my beloved family, I love you. To my personal Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I appreciate you dying on the cross for my sins, coming into my life and saving me. Mom, Dad, I love you. Please don't think ill of me. Dennis was executed on October 13th, 2004. William Smith, 2005. Smith was sentenced to death for the 1987 murder of his employer, Mary Bricker, in Cincinnati. Smith shot Bricker during a robbery at the trucking company where he worked. Final meal. Bacon cheeseburger, onion rings, strawberry milkshake, and a slice of lemon meringue pie. Last words. I know God will forgive me. I hope you will forgive me too. Smith was executed on March 8, 2005. Herman Dale Ashworth, 2005. Ashworth pleaded guilty to the 1996 murder of Daniel Baker in Newark. After meeting Baker at a bar, Ashworth beat him to death, crushing his skull and breaking most of his ribs. Final meal, a cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, onion, and mayonnaise, fried chicken, French fries, chocolate ice cream, Dr. Pepper, and coffee. Last words. I am so sorry for what I did. I deserve what I get tonight. Everything happening here tonight is justified. Like several Ohio inmates, Ashworth voluntarily dropped his appeals to speed up his execution, which took place on September 27, 2005. William G. Williams, 2005. Williams was convicted of the 1991 murder of 17-year-old R Hicks during a drug-related robbery in Youngstown. Williams shot Hicks in the back of the head while the teenager knelt before him. Final meal, prime rib, lobster tail, baked potato with butter and sour cream, corn on the cob, deep-fried mushrooms, Pepsi, hot fudge sundae, and German chocolate cake. Last words. I want to apologize to the Hicks family and ask for their forgiveness. Williams was executed on October 25, 2005. John R. Hicks, 2005. Hicks received the death penalty for the 1985 murders of his 5-year-old stepdaughter, Brandy Green, and his mother-in-law, Maxine Armstrong, in Cincinnati. Hicks strangled both victims during what he claimed was a drug-induced blackout. Final meal, a porterhouse steak, home fries with onions, cauliflower with cheese, onion rings, dinner rolls, a bacon cheeseburger, chocolate chip cheesecake, and Pepsi. Last words. I know the terrible pain I've caused. I ask for forgiveness, but I understand if you can't. Hicks was executed on November 29, 2005. Glenn Benner, 2006. Benner was sentenced to death for the rape and murder of two young women, Trina Bowser in 1985 and Cynthia Sedgwick in 1986. In both cases, Benner strangled his victims after sexually assaulting them. Final meal: a porterhouse steak, fried shrimp, French fries, onion rings, a dinner salad, and cheesecake. Last words: I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank all my family and friends for supporting me. I love you all. Benner was executed on February 7, 2006. Joseph L. Clark, 2006. Clark was convicted of the 1984 murder of David Manning during a gas station robbery in Toledo. Clark shot Manning in the head even after the attendant had cooperated and handed over money. Final meal: a well-done porterhouse steak, garlic toast, French fries, cherry pie, eclair, vanilla ice cream, and Coca-Cola. Last words: I don't want to talk too much. I'm sorry for what I did. Clark's execution on May 2, 2006 was problematic. Technicians struggled to find a suitable vein, and the execution was halted for nearly 30 minutes when Clark's vein collapsed. This fueled legal challenges to Ohio's lethal injection protocol. Rocky Barton, 2006. Barton was sentenced to death for the 2003 murder of his wife, Kimberly Barton, in Waynesville. After Kimberly filed for divorce, Barton shot her with a shotgun as she arrived home from work. Final meal: fried fish, French fries, hush puppies, onion rings, chocolate pie, Dr. Pepper, and coffee. Last words: I'm sorry. I wish I could bring her back. I wish she could walk through those doors. I regret what I've done, but I'm a man. Barton waived his appeals and was executed on July 12, 2006, just 3 years after his crime. One of the fastest executions in modern history. Daryl Ferguson, 2006. Ferguson was convicted of the 2001 murders of Thomas King, 61, Arlie Fugate, 68, and May Fugate, 69, in their Dayton homes. Ferguson beat and stabbed his elderly victims during separate robberies to get money for crack cocaine. Final meal: declined a special meal, requesting only that his regular prison food be donated to a homeless person, a request that was denied per prison policy. Last words: I want to say that I'm sorry that I misunderstood God, and I hope the families know that. Like several others on this list, Ferguson voluntarily dropped his appeals to hasten his execution, which occurred on August 8, 2006. Jeffrey Lundgren, 2006. Lundgren, a self-proclaimed prophet who formed his own religious cult, orchestrated the 1989 murders of the Avery family, Dennis, Cheryl, and their 3 daughters aged 7 to 15, in Kirtland. Lundgren claimed God had ordered the killings as a blood sacrifice. Final meal: T-bone steak with A1 sauce, baked potato with sour cream and real bacon bits, asparagus with hollandaise sauce, corn on the cob with butter, dinner rolls, spinach salad with cherry tomatoes and French dressing, milk, apple pie, and butter pecan ice cream. Last words: I profess my love for God, my family, my children, and my Savior, Jesus Christ. Lundgren was executed on October 24, 2006. James J. Filyagi, 2007. Filyagi was sentenced to death for the 1994 murder of his ex-wife Lisa Huff Filyagi in Lorraine. After breaking into her home, Filyagi chased Lisa to a neighbor's house where he shot her twice in the head. Final meal: cheese pizza, fried mushrooms, fried okra, nachos with chili cheese sauce, hot sauce, cherry pie, strawberry ice cream, and Pepsi. Last words: yeah, God bless. I want my children to know I love them very much. You're a good crew, guys. I appreciate you all doing your jobs. Filyagi was executed on April 24, 2007. Christopher Newton, 2007. Newton received the death penalty for beating his cellmate, Jason Brewer, to death in 2001 at the Mansfield Correctional Institution. Newton killed Brewer, hoping to receive the death penalty, and admitted that the murder was premeditated. Final meal: T-bone steak, chicken nuggets, onion rings, bacon, fried potatoes, chocolate ice cream, barbecue chips, peanut M&Ms, and Mountain Dew. Last words, "Yes, boy, I sure hate to go. I think it's going to hurt. Would somebody please come help me get out of this? I'm being murdered." Newton's execution on May 24, 2007, was problematic due to his weight, 265 pounds. Technicians took nearly 2 hours and multiple attempts to find suitable veins for the IV lines. Richard Cooey, 2008. Cooey was convicted of the 1986 murders of University of Akron students Dawn McCreary and Wendy Afredo. After throwing a chunk of concrete from an overpass that damaged their car, Cooey and an accomplice offered to help the women, then abducted, raped, and stabbed them to death. Final meal: a T-bone steak with A1 sauce, onion rings, French fries, 4 eggs over easy, toast with butter, hash browns, a pint of Rocky Road ice cream, Mountain Dew, and authentic bear claw pastries. Last words. You expletive haven't paid any attention to anything I've said in the last 22.5 years. Why would you pay any attention to what I have to say now? Cooey was executed on October 14, 2008. Gregory Bryant Bay, 2008. Bryant Bay received the death penalty for the 1992 murder of Dale Pinkelman, owner of a coin shop in Toledo. Bryant Bay stabbed Pinkelman in the back and slashed his throat during a robbery. Final meal: well-done filet mignon steak with a 1 sauce, well-done porterhouse steak with a 1 sauce, double bacon cheeseburger with mayonnaise, onion, lettuce, and tomato, plain cheesecake with strawberry topping, and Dutch apple pie. Last words. I want to first apologize to the family for their loss. I hope they find some peace. I'm headed for a far better place. Bryant Bay was executed on November 19, 2008. Daniel E. Wilson, 2009. Wilson was sentenced to death for the 1991 murder of Carol Lutz in Elyria. After Lutz gave Wilson a ride home from a bar, he locked her in the trunk of her car and burned her alive. Final meal: a porterhouse steak with a 1 sauce, a baked potato with butter and sour cream, asparagus, coffee with cream and sugar, and Dutch apple pie a la mode. Last words. I'm sorry for my crimes. I know I've hurt my family. I'm really sorry about that. That's it. Wilson was executed on June 3, 2009. John Fortenberry, 2009. Fortenberry, a long-haul truck driver, went on a killing spree across multiple states in 1991. He was sentenced to death in Ohio for the murder of Joseph Darren Jr. at a truck stop in Cincinnati, one of at least 5 people Fortenberry killed. Final meal: a double cheeseburger with lettuce, pickles, tomato and onions, French fries, deep-fried mushrooms, chocolate chip cookies, and Pepsi. Last words. I wish to say with all sincerity, I am sorry for the loss of life and all the pain I have caused. May God forgive us all. Fortenberry was executed on July 14, 2009. Marvelous Keene, 2009. Keene was the ringleader of a group that murdered 6 people during a 4-day killing spree in Dayton in 1992, known as the Christmas Killings. The victims included a young mother and her 18-year-old daughter. Final meal: declined a special meal, opting for the standard prison meal that day. Last words: declined to make a final statement. Keene was executed on July 21, 2009. Jason Getze, 2009. Getze was convicted of the 1995 murder-for-hire killing of Ann Serafino in Hubbard. Getze was hired by Charles Serafino's business rival to kill Charles, but he killed Ann instead and wounded Charles. Final meal: a porterhouse steak with a 1 sauce, a baked potato with sour cream and butter, onion rings, a garden salad with ranch dressing, a hot fudge sundae, Coca-Cola, and a medium-rare T-bone steak. Last words. I'm sorry. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. It's a terrible thing I've done. I've taken a mother away from her children, and I want to apologize to them, to her. Davyy was executed on August 18, 2009. Kenneth Beros, 2009. Beros was sentenced to death for the 1991 murder of Tammy Engstrom in Trumbull County. After offering Engstrom a ride home from a bar, Beros murdered and dismembered her, scattering her remains across 2 states. Final meal: a breakfast of cheese omelet, hash browns, fried potatoes, cereal, orange juice, milk, and coffee. Last words: I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank all my family and friends who have supported me throughout this. I want to apologize to the Engstrom family. I'm sorry. Beros was executed on December 8, 2009, becoming the first person in the U.S. executed using a single-drug lethal injection protocol. Vernon Smith, a.k.a. Abdullah Sharif Kazim Mahdi, 2010. Smith was convicted of the 1993 murder of Sohail Darwish, a Toledo store owner. Smith shot Darwish in the chest during a robbery that netted less than $400. Final meal: a porterhouse steak, baked potato with butter and sour cream, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, strawberry cake, cheesecake, Dr. Pepper, and cola. Last words: Smith recited the Muslim holy phrase, Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, meaning there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Smith was executed on January 7, 2010. Mark Aaron Brown, 2010. Brown received the death penalty for the 1994 murders of Issam Salman and Haider al-Turk, clerks at a Youngstown market. Brown shot both men during a robbery, with the murders captured on the store's security camera. Final meal: a pepperoni and sausage pizza, extra cheesy breadsticks, hot sauce, chocolate ice cream, double cheeseburger with all the works, French fries, and a Mountain Dew. Last words: I speak for myself and those I've hurt. I'm truly sorry. I wish I could have done better with my life. Mom, I loved you. I love you guys. I'm ready. Warden. Brown was executed on February 4, 2010. Lawrence Reynolds Jr., 2010. Reynolds was sentenced to death for the 1994 murder of 67-year-old Loretta Foster in Cuyahoga Falls. Reynolds strangled his neighbor with a rope after breaking into her home to rob her. Final meal: a porterhouse steak with a one-sauce, pork chops with barbecue sauce, jumbo fried shrimp, fried mozzarella sticks, onion rings, French fries, chocolate ice cream, cheesecake, and Pepsi. Last words: I want to extend my greatest apology to the Foster family. I would like to tell them I'm sorry for the pain I've caused. I want to thank my family and friends for supporting me through this. Reynolds was executed on March 16, 2010. Daryl Durr, 2010. Durr was convicted of the 1988 kidnapping, rape, and murder of 16-year-old Angel Vincent in Cleveland. Durr abducted Vincent from her home, sexually assaulted her, then strangled her with a ligature and stuffed her body in a barrel. Final meal: declined a special meal. Last words: declined to make a final statement. Durr was executed on April 20, 2010. Michael Francis Buke, 2010. Known as the highway shooter, Buke was sentenced to death for a 1983 killing spree along Ohio highways. Posing as a hitchhiker, Buke shot 3 motorists who offered him rides, killing one, Robert Craig, and wounding 2 others. Final meal: a single olive with the pit removed. Last words: please forgive me, Susan and Michael. Susan, please teach Michaela the Lord's Prayer. Please tell Carlos I'm sorry. To my family, I love you. Thank you for being here. To my spiritual family and friends, thank you for your love and support. Buke recited the Lord's Prayer during his 20-minute final statement before his execution on May 13, 2010. William Garner, 2010. Garner's crime combined breaking and entering with mass murder. In January 1992, after stealing a woman's purse containing her keys and address, Garner broke into her Cincinnati apartment and set it on fire while 6 children slept inside. 5 children, aged 8 to 12, died in the blaze. Final meal: a porterhouse steak, fried shrimp, barbecued chicken and ribs, a large pizza with the works, French fries, onion rings, garlic bread, corn on the cob, potato salad, sweet potato pie, chocolate ice cream, and lemonade. Last words. To the families, I understand your grief. I apologize for your loss. My involvement in taking your children was unjust, unfair, and does not deserve your forgiveness. I know that God is all-loving, and one day you will see your children again. Garner was executed on July 13, 2010. Rodrik Davyy, 2010. Davyy was convicted of the 1991 murders of John Coleman and Tracy Jeffries at a pet food warehouse in Warren, where he had been fired 3 months earlier. Davyy shot and beat his former co-workers to death during a rampage that also left a 3rd employee seriously wounded. Final meal: a porterhouse steak with mushrooms and onions, fried shrimp with cocktail sauce, a chili dog with everything, French fries, onion rings, chocolate chip cheesecake, chocolate milk, and cola. Last words: I love you all. Love my kids for me. I'm ready, sir. I'm going to a better place. Davyy was executed on August 10, 2010. Michael Benge, 2010. Benge was sentenced to death for the 1993 murder of his girlfriend, Judith Gabbard, in Butler County. Benge beat Gabbard with a tire iron, then placed her body in a car and pushed it into the Great Miami River to make her death look like a drowning accident. Final meal: a porterhouse steak with a 1-sauce, fried chicken, barbecued baby back ribs, potato wedges with paprika, chocolate ice cream with nuts, and Mountain Dew. Last words: I'd like to say I'm sorry. I hope my death gives you closure and brings you peace. Please forgive me. Benji was executed on October 6, 2010. Frank G. Spisak Jr., 2011. Spisak, a self-proclaimed Nazi, was convicted of killing 3 people at Cleveland State University in 1982 in a hate-motivated shooting spree targeting black people and Jews. His victims were Timothy Sheehan, Brian Warford, and Horace Rickerson. Final meal: spaghetti with tomato sauce, a salad with Italian dressing, chocolate cake, coffee with cream and sugar, and tea with honey. Last words: Spisak read a lengthy passage in German from the Bible, then said in English, "I am finished. Heil Herr." Spisak was executed on February 17, 2011, after nearly 30 years on death row. Johnny Baston, 2011. Baston was sentenced to death for the 1994 murder of Chong Ma, a South Korean immigrant who owned a Toledo store. Baston shot Ma in the back of the head during a robbery. Final meal: a bacon cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, and onion, French fries, strawberry cheesecake, Colby cheese sticks with marinara sauce, and Pepsi. Last words: I want to say sorry for taking Chong Ma's life. I ask for forgiveness from the family. I want to thank my family for taking care of my kids. Baston was executed on March 10, 2011, becoming the first person in the U.S. executed using the drug pentobarbital as the sole lethal agent. Clarence Carter, 2011. Carter earned his death sentence for the brutal murder of fellow inmate Johnny Allen, while both were incarcerated at the Hamilton County Jail in 1988. Carter beat Allen for over 20 minutes, stomping on his head and neck at least a dozen times. Final meal: 2 porterhouse steaks with a 1-sauce, a double cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, onion, pickle, ketchup, and mayonnaise, French fries with ketchup, butter pecan ice cream, apple pie a la mode, and grape juice. Last words: I'd like to say I'm sorry for what I've done. I pray that God will forgive me for taking a man's life. I ask that my family forgive me. Carter was executed on April 12, 2011. Daniel Lee Bedford, 2011. Bedford was convicted of the 1984 murders of his ex-girlfriend, Gwen Topfert, and her boyfriend, John Smith, in Cincinnati. Bedford shot both victims multiple times in a jealous rage after breaking into Topfert's apartment. Final meal: a porterhouse steak, fried chicken, biscuits with gravy, baked potatoes with bacon, onions, cheese, and sour cream, fried rice, onion rings, hot fudge sundae, orange juice, cola, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew. Last words: I love you all. I'm ready to go. Bedford was executed on May 17, 2011, despite late challenges based on his dementia diagnosis. Reginald Brooks, 2011. Brooks was sentenced to death for the 1982 murders of his three sons, Reginald Jr., 17, Vaughn, 15, and Nyarkos, 11, in their Cleveland home. Brooks shot each boy in the head as they slept, 2 days after his wife filed for divorce. Final meal: lasagna, garlic bread, strawberry ice cream, chocolate cake, caramel candy, beef jerky, cashews, almonds, and 6 cans of Pepsi. Last words: declined to make a final statement. Brooks was executed on November 15, 2011, nearly 30 years after his crimes. Gary Ott, 2017. Otta earned his death sentence for a 1992 robbery spree that left 2 people dead, Robert Wasikowski and Sharon Kostura, in Parma, a Cleveland suburb. Otte shot each victim in the head after gaining entry to their apartments through deception. Final meal: a mushroom and Swiss burger, a quart of Heath Bar ice cream, and a slice of banana cream pie. Last words: Otta sang the Christian hymn, The Greatest Thing, followed by, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. Amen. Otta was executed on September 13, 2017, after a 3-year hiatus in Ohio executions. Ronald Phillips, 2017. Phillips committed the rape and murder of 3-year-old Sheila Marie Evans, his girlfriend's daughter, in January 1993. The autopsy revealed over 125 bruises on the child's body, along with internal injuries from sexual assault. Final meal: a large pizza with bell peppers and mushrooms, a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, strawberry cheesecake, a piece of unleavened bread, grape juice, and a Schwann's ice cream sandwich. Last words: to the Evans family, I'm sorry you had to live so long with my evil actions. All those years I prayed you'd forgive me and find it in your hearts to forgive me. Sheila Marie did not deserve what I did to her. I've carried it with me all these years, and I am truly sorry. Phillips was executed on July 26, 2017, ending a 3-year moratorium on executions in Ohio following the problematic execution of Dennis McGuire. Robert Van Hook, 2018. Van Hook committed one of Cincinnati's most notorious hate crimes when he picked up David Self at a gay bar in 1985, went home with him, then strangled and repeatedly stabbed him. Van Hook disemboweled Self after killing him, then staged a break-in. Final meal: a double cheeseburger, fries, strawberry cheesecake with whipped cream, and a vanilla milkshake. Last words: I'm sorry to David's family, to my family. God bless you all. I love you all. I'm very sorry. Van Hook was executed on July 18, 2018, becoming the first person executed in Ohio after a 3-year hiatus following the problematic execution of Dennis McGuire. Dennis McGuire, 2014. McGuire's 1994 rape and murder of 22-year-old pregnant woman Joyce Stewart shocked Ohio. After offering Stewart a ride, McGuire raped her, then slashed her throat so deeply he severed her carotid artery and jugular vein. Final meal: roast beef, fried chicken, a bagel with cream cheese, toast with butter, potato salad, Coca-Cola, and hot coffee with cream and sugar. Last words: I'm going to heaven. I'll see you there when you come. McGuire's execution on January 16, 2014, became infamous as one of the most problematic in Ohio history. Using an experimental two-drug combination, the execution took 26 minutes, during which witnesses reported McGuire gasped, choked, and struggled against his restraints for over 10 minutes. Charles Lorraine, 2012. Lorraine was convicted of the 1986 murders of Raymond and Doris Montgomery, an elderly couple in Warren. Lorraine stabbed Raymond 5 times and Doris 9 times after breaking into their home to rob them. Final meal: a large pepperoni pizza, extra cheese sticks, onion rings, fried mushrooms, chocolate ice cream, and Coca-Cola. Last words: Lorraine's execution was stayed indefinitely due to concerns about Ohio's lethal injection protocol. Lorraine remains on death row as of this writing in 2025. Mark Wayne Wiles, 2012. Wiles was sentenced to death for the 1985 murder of 15-year-old Mark Klima in Portage County. Wiles, who had worked as a farmhand for the Klima family, stabbed the teenager 24 times with a kitchen knife during a burglary of the family's home. Final meal: a large pizza with pepperoni and extra cheese, hot sauce, a garden salad with ranch dressing, cheesecake, strawberries, vanilla ice cream with nuts, and Sprite. Last words: I'm so sorry to the family of Mark Klima. I know no words can ever bring him back. I can only tell you that I'm so sorry for what I did. I would gladly trade places with him if I could. Wiles was executed on April 18, 2012. Donald Palmer, 2012. Palmer received the death penalty for the 1989 murders of Charles Sponholtz and Stephen Vargo in Belmont County. Palmer shot both men in the head at close range after a minor traffic accident. Final meal: a chipped ham and Velveeta cheese sandwich, pork and beans, potato salad, butter pecan ice cream, and a Dr. Pepper. Last words: I want to apologize to the families. I've made terrible mistakes. I hope you find some peace from this. I know there's not much I can give, and I would like to apologize to my family for putting you through this. I want to thank them for supporting me. You've all been in my prayers. Palmer was executed on September 20th, 2012. Brett Hartman, 2012. Hartman was convicted of the 1997 murder of Wynda Snipes in Akron. Hartman stabbed Snipes 138 times, slit her throat, and cut off her hands. He maintained his innocence throughout his time on death row, claiming he discovered the body but did not commit the murder. Final meal: a steak with a one sauce, a baked potato with butter and sour cream, fried shrimp, macaroni and cheese, vanilla ice cream, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew. Last words: I'm good. I'm ready. I want to thank my family, friends, and all my Christian brothers and sisters who've supported me. I'm not afraid. God's got my back. Hartman was executed on November 13, 2012. Frederick Trice, 2013. Trice was sentenced to death for the 1994 murder of Henry Dupree during a robbery of an adult bookstore in Eastlake. Trice's multi-state crime spree with an accomplice included robberies, shootings, and another murder in Michigan. Final meal: a quarter-pound cheeseburger with mayo, ketchup, mustard, and lettuce, egg over garlic potatoes, deep-fried mushrooms, butter pecan ice cream, Dr. Pepper, and cream soda. Last words: you know, I said I was not going to make a statement, but now I think I've been lying to myself all along. This is not going to be an apology. I'm accepting responsibility. Dupree was a good dude. I'm sorry to his family. I know this can't bring him back. Trice was executed on March 6, 2013. Stephen Smith, 2013. Smith was convicted of the 1998 murder of 6-month-old Autumn Carter in Mansfield. Smith raped and beat the infant to death while her mother slept nearby. He claimed he was too drunk to remember the crime but never denied responsibility. Final meal: a pepperoni and sausage pizza, fried fish, chocolate ice cream, and soda. Last words. I am so very sorry. I would like to ask for forgiveness from Autumn's mother, but I realize that may never happen. I want Autumn and her family to know the truth, and I pray they have the peace and comfort they deserve. Smith was executed on May 1st, 2013. Harry Mitz Jr., 2013. Mitz was sentenced to death for the 1994 racially motivated murders of John Bryant, who was black, and Garfield Heights police officer Dennis Glivar. Mitz shot Bryant without provocation, then killed Officer Glivar during the ensuing standoff. Final meal: steak with sautéed mushrooms, Caesar salad with ranch dressing, onion rings, French fries, chocolate ice cream, a piece of hot fudge cake, and cherry Coke. Last words. I want to say sorry to the families of John Bryant and Officer Glivar. I love you all. Thank you for taking care of my daughters Diana and Melissa all these years. Lord, please forgive me for what I did. Mitz was executed on September 25, 2013, becoming the last person executed in Ohio before a temporary halt due to drug shortages and concerns about lethal injection protocols. Arthur Tyler, commuted. Tyler was sentenced to death for the 1983 murder of produce vendor Sander Leach during a robbery in Cleveland. Though another man confessed to being the actual shooter, Tyler was convicted based on witness testimony. After decades on death row, Tyler's sentence was commuted to life without parole by Governor John Kasich in 2014, citing questions about which of the two men was the actual shooter. William Montgomery, commuted. Montgomery was convicted of the 1986 murders of Deborah Ogle and Cynthia Tincher in Toledo. After years of appeals highlighting questionable evidence and witness testimony, Governor John Kasich commuted Montgomery's sentence to life without parole in March 2018. Raymond Tibbitz, commuted. Tibbitz received the death penalty for the 1997 murders of his wife, Judith Crawford, and her landlord, Fred Hicks, in Cincinnati. Tibbitz stabbed Crawford over 20 times and beat her with a baseball bat, then stabbed Hicks 4 times in the chest. Tibbitz's death sentence was commuted to life without parole by Governor John Kasich in July 2018, after a juror from his trial came forward with concerns about mitigating evidence that wasn't presented during the penalty phase. Warren Keith Hennis. Hennis was convicted of the 1992 murder of Richard Myers in Columbus. Hennis and his wife lured Myers, a substance abuse counselor trying to help them, to their home where they robbed and shot him. Hennis received multiple stays of execution due to concerns about Ohio's lethal injection protocol. As of this writing in 2025, he remains on death row. Cleveland Jackson was sentenced to death for the 2002 murders of 17-year-old Lenashia Williams and 3-year-old Jayla Grant during a robbery in Lima. Jackson and his half-brother shot the victims and wounded 6 others after forcing them to lie on the floor. Jackson's execution has been scheduled and postponed multiple times due to concerns about Ohio's execution protocols. He remains on death row. Kareem Jackson received the death penalty for the 1997 execution-style murders of Antorio Hunter and Terrence Walker in Columbus. Jackson forced the victims to lie on the floor before shooting them in the back of the head during a robbery. His execution has been delayed multiple times due to Ohio's moratorium on executions. Jackson remains on death row. Gregory Mcnite. Mcnite was convicted of the 2000 murders of Kenyon College student Emily Murray and Gregory Julius in Vinton County. Mcnite kidnapped Murray from the pub where they both worked, shot her, and kept her body in his trailer for weeks. Mcnite remains on death row as of this writing in 2025. Anthony Sowell. Known as the Cleveland Strangler, Sowell was sentenced to death for the murders of 11 women whose bodies were discovered in and around his Cleveland home in 2009. Most victims were strangled and dismembered. Sowell died of a terminal illness in prison in February 2021 while awaiting execution. Donna Roberts. Roberts, the only woman on Ohio's death row, was convicted of planning the 2001 murder of her husband, Robert Fingerhut, with her lover, Nathaniel Jackson. After Fingerhut's death, Roberts collected $550,000 in life insurance. Roberts remains on death row, though Ohio has not executed a woman since 1954.